Hey, good morning, everybody, and it is a wonderfully snowy day here, and I am thrilled that you're here to join me. If you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm a body-mind expert and a Shiatsu massage therapist, and my specialty is helping women become strong enough and resilient enough so that they can really start to become the biggest version of themselves they always wanted to be. Whether it's dealing with narcissists in their life, whether it's creating a business, whether it's dealing with chronic pain, that's what I'm here for, to help women figure out how they actually work so that you can get unstuck. So today's topic is about verbal attacks. So as you may or may not know, recently I had a troll online deciding to attack some of the ad content that I had put out. And it reminded me, hey Kellyanne, nice to see you. It reminded me to all the other times in my life, hey Lisa, that I had been verbally attacked. Now, attacks actually don't have to be verbal. You know, I grew up in a pretty tumultuous household, and a lot of the tension was unspoken. So things don't have to be words that come at you, but it's that emotionality behind it. It's that tension. It's how we respond. Hey, Lynn, nice to see you. So I've been dealing with this high level of fight or flight since I was a kid. So actually I've been working on this topic for over 4 decades. And after going through all of the rounds and all of the layers and all of the healings and things like that, you kind of come up with some scripts and a game plan, because guess what? People are still going to be, especially in this day and age, attacking one another. Mentally, emotionally, energetically. They're still going to be jealous. They're still not going to have good self-control, and they're going to be very selfish. They're going to think mainly about their feelings and their reaction overall. And so if you're a healer, or are sensitive, or if you're on the other side of the spectrum, you're not as sensitive, you're able to roll with the punches easier, it means that you're going to end up being the one that gets the majority of these sorts of verbal attacks. And part of it is because you're so strong and so good and so capable that you're the ones that were able to put up with it. But it's in everybody's best interests when we start teaching one another what good relationship skills look like and how to develop close relationships with people. If you think about it, a lot of the people who are out there doing the verbal and mental and emotional abuse, they were never held accountable. They were a bully, which meant that because they were a bully, they got their way a lot, and when they didn't get their way, they got angry about it, and that was sort of so they didn't have to think about anything else except their feelings. So we're dealing with a world of people who have no relationship skills and no social skills, and they don't even know how to create close relationships. And so they're overreacting to their stress in the only way they know how, which is to attack the people that let them attack them. And I'm one of those people because I'm a healer type. I'm able to see past a lot of people's behavior to who they are. And for a lot of years, I was hijacked by that. I wanted my compassion to be the most important part of me. That was my identity. I wanted to be kind, which meant that I also ended up being way more tolerant. Now, counterintuitively, hey Sherry, the answer to compassion is not tolerating verbal and mental and emotional abuse. That's actually not very compassionate to the person, because now you're working with somebody who has no idea how to get close to someone, no idea how to manage their feelings, and no one's ever held them accountable. They've just, people in the regular realm, they've either, fought back or left or never gave good feedback. This is your chance. When you develop these scripts and these skills, this is your chance to start to change the world around you. Because if we look at all of these people exhibiting narcissistic behaviors, and sometimes it's been me when I've been in survival and I've been overwhelmed. I couldn't think about anybody but my own feelings, and that hijacked me and controlled me. That's the world we're living in. People who are feeling controlled by the emotions, and they don't know how to handle it, and they don't know how other people are responding to it. You know, there's a general rule, which is we take our own emotions, you know, our expression of our own emotions as a no big deal. I just got irritable, or I just got cranky. But to the other person who's seeing it, we get overwhelmed and we get hijacked now because we're feeling the energy coming off of somebody. So people tend to minimize their own expression of frustration and anger, and the one watching tends to maximize it. There's actually a balance in between. So what are the 5 scripts? The 5 scripts are based on Asian medicine because that's my passion, and it gives a really good logical framework to do things. And so we'll start with wood. Wood is spring. Wood is newness. Wood is what you might have done as a child. Wood is hope. So one of the things that so I'm going to go back to one of the scripts that I learned the very first script I learned, actually. Hey, Catherine. The first script was from a therapist that I was seeing. And she's someone who became a great mentor. And what she said to me was, you can always excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. Hey, Anne, nice to see you. And so that one stuck with me for a long time. That was my first script. When I felt cornered, when I felt like someone was coming in and attacking me, verbally, mentally, emotionally, energetically, let's say they were just walking around angry and letting everybody know how angry they were, and that would affect me in a really hard way. When I felt cornered, my very first tool was to say, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. And then I would leave, and I would, in the bathroom, spend a little bit of time composing myself, doing my breathing exercises or my tapping work, you know, EFT or meditation or visualization. I would do all of my tools. It gave me a break to use that. So script number 1 is when someone's coming at you, to say, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. And then you leave and do what you need to do. Now, whether you come back or not is totally up to you. Maybe you want to dodge the situation for a while. That's perfectly cool because that's where you're at right now. It's no big deal. That's where you're at. You're only one step. But as you keep doing these things, you get stronger and smarter and more capable. So what's the next one in line? The next one is fire. And fire is emotional passion. Fire is letting some of your own emotion show. Fire is being in that. And so fire for me, my script, when that's the tool I want to use, is when someone comes in and their energy is off, I just get up and leave. I don't say anything. I don't do anything. I just get up and remove myself from the situation first off. And then after I'm removed, I'll typically call a friend or I'll call, a mentor, someone that can help me process through whatever my emotional reaction is. So I don't say a thing. Script number 3 is you allow yourself to own and acknowledge and feel your own emotions, and you get the hell out. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't be shell-shocked, you don't even cry. You don't sit there and allow yourself to be in that moment. You get up and you leave. So script number 3 is earth. This is one that came after I'd felt a little bit more self-esteem around the first 2 tools that I had. So earth came along. And earth was coming from a place of compassion and respect. In fact, Brene Brown says that we cannot have true compassion for people unless we have good boundaries, unless we set those lines. And so for me, my compassionate response to someone who is having an emotional meltdown directed at me is when there's a break, when they take a breath, my response is, thank you for telling me how you feel. I certainly appreciate it. And then I leave. You're starting to notice a pattern here. The pattern is giving yourself time to pause and reflect and not getting as engaged. Because when you're able to pause and reflect, then you can come back to the situation and from a more grounded, centered place. So this one is, thank you for telling me how you feel. I certainly appreciate it. And that's it. There's no explanation, there's no argument, there's no questioning. And what it does for the other person who's in this survival mode, that's why they're reacting the way that they're reacting, is what it does for them is it helps them feel heard. It gives them a space, and it also confuses them. As bullies, they're used to people either fighting back or running away or, or arguing with them, something. They're not used to someone saying, hey, thank you for telling me how you feel. And so even when I've been in the most emotionally, I'm peeing myself, sort of overwhelmed because someone's coming at me, having the script at the tip of my fingers has been a great way that disrupts the pattern. It disrupts their flow and their energy. Thank you for telling me how you feel. I certainly appreciate it. And I don't say anything besides that. And I may say that, give it a few more moments, and then I will leave. You're also noticing in this pattern that I'm leaving. I'm not trying to force someone else to leave. I'm not directing someone else to leave to gather their stuff, because that's not empowering for me. When I try to make someone else do something, especially if they don't want to do it, that still leaves me in a place of being victimized. So the strongest route that I can have is I am the one who leaves. So keep that in mind. For me, that was a block, because when I was a kid, I thought if I left, it would be the most devastating, horrific thing that I could ever do. And in fact, I was accused of that once. I left a peace conference because I was feeling insulted. And without any fanfare or anything, I quietly left, and I didn't say anything because it was, in my best interest to do that. However, it did cause a ruckus. It caused a ruckus, and I was told that was the most horrific thing someone could do to somebody else. And I thought about all of my own experience. Hey, Jody. I thought about all of my own experience. I thought about when I was a kid, and, verbal abuse and mental abuse and emotional abuse and sexual abuse and, all of those things. I thought about that. And I thought, this is me leaving the situation. It's not the worst thing that can happen to you. It's not. Then you think about third world countries, and you think about the atrocities that people learn to live through in war and when they're victims. You leaving a situation is not the worst thing that can happen to an adult. They're an adult. I was 4, you were a child when these things happened to you many times. And adults have the resources and resiliency in order to handle their emotions. They're able to get the tools that they need. So me leaving a situation, as you're noticing in this pattern, me saying, I am not going to allow myself to experience this, that's a big piece of it. So thank you for telling me how you feel. I certainly appreciate it. And then I leave. So the next one is metal. And metal is actually one of my favorites because metal is all about boundaries. Now, boundaries in a healthy sense are the rules that I set for myself about what I'm willing to experience in life. I'm not willing to experience tolerating someone emotionally, verbally, or energetically beating the crap out of me. I'm not willing to experience that anymore. So you've noticed those boundaries in the other scripts that we had. They were boundaries for me. This is a way that we can start to teach the people around us, especially if we love them, especially if they're in our family or our kids or our spouse or, somebody that matters to us on a deep level. When you want to start to change the relationship and change how you're treated and maybe evolve the relationship a little bit, you actually tell people that this is your boundary. You say, you've crossed a boundary, I need to leave. It's a training. We need to help parent and teach so much of the world anymore because they don't understand how to look past how they're feeling, and how to actually create meaningful, intimate relationships. And so when someone is worth it to me, I will tell them, you have crossed a boundary. I need to leave. This is my boundary. And when you stick with it, because they will test it, the people that you love will want to make sure that you're there. The beautiful thing about a boundary is it helps somebody else feel more secure. I know you shouldn't care about the other person, but you should, because we are in a big web of life. We're interconnected. You're living with them, or you have to see them regularly. So on some level, it's really helpful if you care about them and care about them having the ability to create good relationships with other people, because clearly they don't have the tools or skills. So you teach them. And the way you teach them is you say, this is my boundary, I need to leave now. Or whatever consequence you want to have. But there needs to be an action consequence. And when you do that, then when you automatically leave, they'll go, oh, I crossed a boundary. They'll know why, because now you've told them. When you say, thank you for telling me how you feel, and you leave, they'll recognize, I overreacted. This is not how I want to create a good relationship with another human being. This isn't working, okay? They start to learn that there's action consequence. And so metal is all about that protection. It's all about your armor. And your armor is saying, I'm strong enough and I care about you enough to let you know this is my boundary and to enforce it. Because when you do that, they know where you stand. Now you're more trustworthy to them. They can have faith in you, and they can believe that even when they're at their nastiest, you are not going to allow them to destroy you. I had a close friend the other day that said their most intimate relationships were very tumultuous, and the reason was because they were reactionary. They were very emotionally reactionary, and the other person would say things to hurt them because they're in a fight and everybody's exploding and saying things. And so they would feel pushed past who they wanted to be. They were pushed into somebody that they didn't like and that disgusted them on some level, but they felt out of control of it. When you're someone that people can trust, that you will not allow them to hurt you to that degree, that you have a boundary, it helps other people feel calm and safe and not so reactionary. Boundaries, counterintuitively, are actually one of the best ways to love somebody because it gives them a sense of calm. Now, the last one's kind of fun. It's water. Now, water is that dream time. Water is the time of possibilities and change and potential and becoming somebody different. So here's how you do that. This one, you don't say a word. It all has to do with some preemptive stuff. And the preemptive stuff is where you start becoming a stronger person with more self-confidence. Hey, Jane, nice to see you. You start becoming somebody who now has experience with saying no, who now has experience with setting boundaries. And one of the best ways to do it is start going to a self-defense class. If you feel disempowered, find other women who've been through this stuff, who've dealt with the crazies, who've been attacked, physically, mentally, emotionally, they've gone through their stuff, and you'll find them a lot of times in self-defense classes because now they're passionate about helping other women learn how to protect themselves. So start attending self-defense classes. Start gathering tools or things that make you feel as if you're stronger and more secure, as if you respect your own personal value and experience. Maybe you start carrying pepper spray with you. Maybe you start carrying a whistle with you. You start doing things which will protect you because you deserve to be protected. And when you protect yourself, other people actually respect you more. They did this research with muggers in prison, people who were lifetime muggers. This is what they did. And they showed them all videos of people. And the muggers, to a T, every time picked out the same people that they would target and victimize. It was because of how they carried themselves, whether they looked down, whether they were trying to hide, whether they allowed things to happen to them, whether they had boundaries or not, whether they were looking around and looking out for their best interests. those were the determinations as to whether you were mugged or not. So when you start doing things, let's say putting pepper spray on your desk when you're at your desk. Hey, George, nice to see you. Let's say telling people all about the wonderful martial arts classes that you're taking, or kickboxing classes, or self-defense classes. When you start doing those things and telling people these wonderful ways that you are building your confidence, they get the message. Because you start moving differently, you start carrying different tools around you, and suddenly you're not someone who's an easy target and an easy victim. And that one can kind of change the situation without ever saying a word. And in fact, many times it goes around it. Hey, Victoria, because these people who are so emotionally distraught that they feel the need to move this energy by damaging, or by expressing it in a way that's very toxic to the people around them and toxic to them too. When they start realizing that you're not a pushover anymore, then they go someplace else because you are no longer the low-hanging fruit. You're no longer the easy target. You're no longer the kid that's hanging around for somebody to kick them. You're someone who's decided, hey, Shannon, you're someone who's decided that you value yourself extraordinarily enough that you're willing to learn how to protect yourself. And that energy you carry will usually keep a lot of narcissists and a lot of people off your back. So back to the troll that had attacked some of my ads this week, or actually last week. It got me really thinking again about how important it is to respect yourself, and that's where this kind of came out of. So how did I respond to her when she's calling me, a charlatan that's victimizing women, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and all of this stuff, how she threw up in her mouth, or whatever. It was all of those really rich visuals that she was using. So, I did a couple tests. Okay, let's explain a little bit more. No, that didn't work. And after 2 or 3 times, I said, okay, that's my limit. So when she came at me the last time, I said, so without knowing anything about me, without talking to my clients, without experiencing my work, you have implied that I'm, all of these things. That is my boundary. Thank you for letting me know where I stand. And after that, she went away. She responded one more time in a more respectful way, but by now I'm no longer willing to spend energy on people who aren't ready to have a conversation with me. And she went away. So these are the scripts you can use when you're feeling intimidated or verbally attacked by people in your life. People you love, people who are your coworkers, people you can't escape. When you show that sign of confidence, and it is a form of self-love and self-respect when you do these things, we start to change the world in a positive way around us. One, because we're not going to be as Looney Tunes and off the hook as these other people are behaving. And that gives a sense of calm and groundedness and stability to everybody because you are no longer overreacting to the situation as well. You're setting boundaries. You're deciding for yourself what experience you want to have. And to a T, pretty much you're saying, and I'm leaving. And you can just decide which phrase or phrases you want to use to get out. Now, I do know what I'm talking about. I've never been in a domestic violence situation, but I have been in very verbally abusive and also, as a kid, sexually abusive situations. And it's through these experiences that I've gained this understanding. The only way to get out of a situation that is not working for you is to find a way to leave in a way that fits parallel with who you want to be. It's also really helpful if you're going to have an experience with this, with these narcissistic people or situations for the time being, if that's what you're looking at in the future, it's good to use all of these tools at different times because people learn things. It takes them like at least 7 different novel ways of hearing something for them to start to get the picture, for them to start to get the message. That this is true. They're going to test it. You're going to hold your boundary, not with anger, but with compassion and love for yourself in the situation. You may feel angry. You may feel hijacked. You may want to cry, but now you have 5 things that you can say. And when you change them up, it keeps the other person off guard. It gets past their frontal lobe into their subconscious mind. It plants a seed, and they start to figure out that this is not the appropriate way to handle my emotions. You start to figure that out, because clearly they didn't learn it as a kid. For whatever reason, they didn't learn it. And this is the way that you can help teach them. And the narcissists, the people who were the most painful to me in my life, the most damaging, the most heart-wrenching, the ones who physically affected my life in the biggest way, are the people that I am now the closest to, the most intimate with, because I looked past their behavior and I tried to say, hey, this is the experience we want to have. And so, to a T, the people that have mattered most to me and also been the ones who have been the most hurtful are now the ones I am most intimate with, the ones that touch my heart in the most powerful, positive, unfettered way, because I set boundaries with them and I've helped teach them how to have a good relationship with another human being. I loved them that much. Okay, so cool. Here's your homework assignment for the day. I want you to pick one of these phrases and start to look at it, memorize it, and practice it a little bit. Put it in your little backpack, because it will rescue you when you are cornered or when you feel cornered. So get to know at least one of them. Pick a favorite. Start with that. Start with that one. And getting familiar with it, practice it, dream about it, visualize it, so that the next time you feel cornered, you do not have to feel victimized. You can feel like you have a way out. Now, here is one caveat. Sometimes this stuff happens when you're in a moving car and you really can't get out. It's understandable. I totally get that. You can't leave the situation. You're kind of trapped. You're in a moving car and the other person is driving it. What are you going to do? So in this situation, you wait until you have a chance to leave. And then the first chance you get, you leave, you pause and reflect, and you come up with your game plan or plan of action of how you want to handle it next time. And maybe as you get stronger, as it has been for me, you say, you know what, I think I want to take a separate car. Or you say, you know what, I think I want to meet you there. Or you say, you know what, I think I'll call an Uber or a Lyft. Jody, it happened to you last night? Yeah. Start getting some of these phrases into your mind, because they give you, if nothing else, they give you a launching point. They give you a springboard in order to come up with the things that will work for you. It takes you out of feeling victimized and reacting, which is so easy. There's no judgment there, because it's natural to feel hijacked. I'm not judging the narcissist, and I'm not judging myself. I'm angry. I want to blame and shame and do everything that that person is doing to me. Absolutely. But it's not really what I want to do. It's not who I want to be. And so when you practice these, it starts to give you the self-esteem and the empowerment that you have a choice which will be effective, more effective than arguing, or more effective than fighting back, or more effective than tears or passive-aggressive stuff, more effective than all of it. Hey, Brenda. Leaving is the best way. There was this study about kids and how we are stuck. We tend to stay stuck in the time in our life that we felt the least amount of love. And what happens is, with abandonment and attachment, different styles, what tends to happen is we feel abandoned. We feel cut off. Good for you, Jody. You were so calm that you impressed yourself. Nice job. I'm really proud of you. That is so hard to do. You should be impressed with yourself. I give you congratulations. Awesome. So when we're kids and somebody leaves us, then we come up with a reason, and we do it as adults too. We come up with a reason as to why they left, and we come up with a tactic in order to get their love back. Now the thing is is other people's emotions are based on how they feel. It's not based on how you feel. It's based on what's going on with them. It's really very little based on your state of mind. And so we came up with this understanding that if we smile, or if we're good enough, or if we fight back, or if we, run away, or if we cry, that this will cause a situation to change. And all the romance novels tell us that it will. In reality, generally speaking, it won't. Not when it's coming from someone who is so angry or so frustrated or irritated that they are in their own world. So we end up with this belief that if we do this thing that we just did, that's what will get their love back. Because people in our lives are parents and family. Eventually their love comes back, in small amounts, even if it's just a moment of kindness. But generally speaking, it'll come back for just a smidge, and we'll say, aha, this is what I did to get their love back. And in reality, you got their love back not because of anything that you did. It's because their state of mind changed, their energy changed. Maybe they yelled at you enough. Maybe they, went and, to their kickboxing class. Maybe they did what they needed to do to get back into a good state. Maybe they took their Xanax, who knows? But they're back into a good energetic state, and they're able to be, to show some of that love again. But it had very little to do with you. Very, very little. And so we believe that it's because we did this thing, when in reality, the smart thing to do is to get out of the situation, let them change their state of mind, let them change where they're at, let them do that. And then when you're grounded and they're grounded, then you can come back and have a conversation. Let's say it's your kid. Then even if they're in a bad space, you wait until you're in a good space and you can handle whatever their emotional charge is, where you'll be able to stand grounded, just like Jody was last night. You come back to when you're in a good space and you can handle this. This is how we love the people that we love. Is we respect where we're at, we respect where they're at, no judgment about which one is right and which one is wrong and who gets to win, nothing about that. Instead, you remove, you do what you need to do to get grounded, and then when you're prepared, then you can come back. Now, if this is someone that isn't that important to you, important enough for you to go through this healing process, then you just walk away and don't come back. Because there's someone else that's right for this person to help them through this, and it does not have to be you. You do not have to save them. Because unless you are willing to go through the heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching changes that come with walking through your own fears of standing up for yourself and realizing that you deserve as much respect and love as other people do, and that you're going to get it, until you're willing, if you're not willing to go through that with someone because they don't provide enough value in your life, that's okay. Because there will be somebody for them. There will be someone who will be willing to go the extra mile. Okay? You show up when you're able to show up, and that's the best way to show up. Okay? So that's your homework. Pick one of the phrases and get good at it, so that the next time they come at you, you can start to change the dance and the dynamic, and you can start to do something different and look for a different outcome. And you may have to do it 7, 8, 9 times. You may have to do it that way because it takes a while. It takes novel times to get past their frontal lobe, to plant that seed in their subconscious. But if you stay that path, if the company policy stays the same, if you walk that path, then change happens, okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for sticking with me so long. I really appreciate it. This was a longer live stream. And I will look to see you tomorrow. Bye.